Can you believe that nobody, not a single soul, showed up to my college graduation? Not my mom, not my dad, not my sister, not even a distant cousin. I stood there, cap and gown on, holding my diploma, feeling like the most invisible person on the planet. And then, just days later, my mom had the audacity to text me, asking for $2,100 for my sister's Sweet 16. My response? A single dollar sent with a congrats. And then, I changed the locks on the apartment I paid for, and a few hours later, the cops were knocking on my door. Was I wrong for what I did? Tell me, honestly, would you have done the same thing? Let me take you back, all the way back to the beginning, to understand how I got to that point. I grew up in a household where my older sister, Chloe, was the undisputed golden child. Everything revolved around Chloe. Her ballet lessons, her art classes, her genius IQ, her every whim and desire. I, on the other hand, was just there. The quiet, studious one who never caused trouble, who always did her homework, who always tried to make her parents proud, but never quite succeeded in capturing their attention in the way Chloe did effortlessly. From a young age, I learned that if I wanted anything, I had to earn it myself. My parents always had an excuse for why they couldn't help me. Oh, we just paid for Chloe's new art supplies, honey, maybe next month. Or, Chloe really needs these new ballet shoes. You understand, right? And I always did understand, or at least, I thought I did. I internalized it. I became fiercely independent, working odd jobs from the moment I was old enough to get a work permit. I saved every penny. I bought my own school supplies, paid for my own clothes, even chipped in for groceries when things were tight, which seemed to be whenever Chloe had a new expensive hobby. My grades were impeccable, not because my parents pushed me, but because I saw it as my only way out, my only path to a future where I wasn't just an afterthought. When it came time for college, I applied for every scholarship under the sun. My parents offered no financial support, citing Chloe's future potential and the need to save for her. I ended up getting a full-ride scholarship to a prestigious university, something I worked incredibly hard for. I was so proud, I thought, finally, this would be my moment. They would see me, truly see me. I remember calling my mom, practically bursting with excitement, expecting a cheer. We're so proud of you. Instead, she said, oh, that's nice, honey. Chloe just got into a new modeling agency, did you hear? They think she has real potential. My heart sank, but I was used to it. I pushed past the disappointment and focused on my future. College was a whirlwind. I worked part-time jobs on campus, tutored other students, and still managed to maintain a Dean's List GPA. I paid for my own textbooks, my own food, my own small allowances. I rarely asked my parents for anything, not even a phone call. They rarely called me either, unless it was to ask me to do something for Chloe, like research a college for her, even though she was years away, or design a flyer for one of her endless endeavors. I remember one time, I had a horrible flu. I was alone in my dorm room, feeling absolutely miserable, and I called my mom, just wanting some comfort. She told me she was too busy helping Chloe pick out a dress for a school dance and that I should just take some Tylenol and rest. I hung up the phone feeling colder than the fever itself. That was when a shift happened in me. The yearning for their approval, the desperate hope that one day they would see my efforts and acknowledge them, started to fade. It was replaced by a quiet, determined resolve. I was doing this for me. My education, my future, my independence. I moved into an apartment off campus during my junior year, pooling my savings with a couple of friends. I was able to afford the apartment on my own. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I paid the rent, the utilities, everything. It was a haven, a place where I could truly be myself without feeling like I was constantly competing for air. I spent countless nights studying there, dreaming of the day I would walk across that stage and finally claim my degree. I meticulously planned my graduation day. I ordered my cap and gown, sent out invitations to my family weeks in advance, even paid for a small celebratory dinner reservation for us all afterward. I imagined my mom crying happy tears, my dad giving me a proud hug, Chloe, for once, genuinely happy for me. It was a naive dream, looking back. The day came. Graduation morning. I was buzzing with a mix of excitement and nerves. I called my mom. Are you guys on your way? I asked, trying to keep the hope out of my voice. Oh, honey, she said, her voice sounding distracted. Chloe has a last-minute audition for a commercial. It's a really big deal. It could be her breakthrough. We have to take her. My stomach dropped. But it's my graduation. Mom? I told you months ago. I know, sweetie, and we're so sorry. But this is for Chloe's future. You understand, right? You're so understanding. That last part hit me like a physical blow. You're so understanding. It wasn't a compliment, it was an expectation. A burden she had placed on me my entire life. I mumbled something. I don't even remember what, and hung up. I called my dad. He gave me the exact same excuse, almost word for word. Chloe's audition, her big break. My sister didn't even bother to text. I went to the ceremony anyway. I walked across that stage, smiled for the camera, shook the dean's hand, and accepted my diploma. But inside, I felt hollow. I saw other graduates hugging their parents, posing for photos, celebrating with their families, and I just stood there, a solitary figure in a sea of joy. It was one of the loneliest moments of my life. I went home to my empty apartment, took off my cap and gown, and just sat there, staring at the wall. The celebratory dinner reservation I had made for my family, I canceled it. The extra food I had bought, I ate alone. It was truly over. My college journey, my lifelong dream, had ended with a whimper, not a bang. I told myself it didn't matter, that I was free, that I had done it all on my own, and that was enough. But a part of me, a small, stubborn part, still hurt. For the next few days, I tried to pick myself up. I started applying for jobs, focusing on my future. I decided I wouldn't let their absence define my achievement. I was proud of myself, and that was all that mattered. I was starting a new chapter, one where I was completely independent, where I called the shots. And then, the text came. It flashed on my screen, a familiar number. Need $2,100 for your sister's sweet 16. It was my mom. No congratulations on graduating, no sorry we missed it. Just a demand for money. For Chloe. For Chloe's sweet 16, which I hadn't even been invited to, though I knew it was coming up. My blood ran cold. The audacity, the sheer, unadulterated nerve of it all. All those years of being ignored, of sacrificing my own needs for Chloe's endless wants, of working my fingers to the bone while they showered her with everything, and then to ask times for money after they couldn't even bother to show up for the biggest milestone of my life, something inside me snapped. All the suppressed anger, all the years of feeling invisible, it all boiled to the surface. I looked at the text again, then at my bank account balance. I had just gotten paid from my last part-time job. I transferred a single $1. $1. And in the memo line I typed, congrats. It was petty. I knew it was petty. But it felt incredibly satisfying. I stared at my phone, half expecting an immediate furious call or text back. Nothing. Just silence. It was almost more infuriating than an angry response. It solidified the fact that they saw me as nothing more than a resource, a wallet to be tapped when needed, not a person with feelings, with accomplishments, with boundaries. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Here I was, freshly graduated, alone, and being treated like an ATM by the very people who were supposed to celebrate me. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have just given them the money to avoid conflict? Would you have ignored the text? Or would you have done what I did and pushed back? Tell me, honestly, what would your next move have been? I sat there, the phone heavy in my hand, thinking. The congrats dollar was a symbolic slap in the face, but it wasn't enough. It didn't truly express the depth of my frustration, my anger, my hurt. I looked around my apartment, *, my Times apartment. I paid the rent, the utilities, I had decorated it, made it a home. And yet, because I was their child, they still felt entitled to walk in and out, to use me, to demand from me. A thought struck me, cold and clear. This apartment was my sanctuary. It was the only space that was truly mine, untainted by their expectations and Chloe's demands. They still had a key, of course, for emergencies, they'd always said. But what kind of emergency would they have here? An emergency where they needed to borrow money, probably. I got up, grabbed my purse, and walked to the hardware store. I bought a new lock set. It was simple, easy to install. I came back, and with a surprising sense of calm, I removed the old lock and put in the new one. The click of the new lock engaging was a sound of liberation. This was my boundary. This was my line in the sand. No more open doors, no more open wallets, no more open access to my life without respect. I knew this would cause a stir. I knew it would ignite a firestorm. But I was ready. I was done being the understanding one. I was done being invisible. I wanted them to finally see me, even if it was through the lens of their own anger. I didn't have to wait long. A few hours later, my phone started ringing, a frantic succession of calls from my mom, then my dad, then Chloe. I ignored them all. I let them go to voicemail, listening to the increasingly desperate messages. What have you done? My mom shrieked in one. Why can't we get in? Are you trying to lock us out? We need to talk to you right now. Then came the texts, a barrage of them, accusing me of being selfish, ungrateful, heartless. After everything we've done for you, my mom texted, which honestly made me laugh out loud. Everything times they'd times done for me. They'd given me a roof over my head for 18 years, sure. But beyond that, I'd earned every single thing. Chloe even chimed in, "You're ruining my sweet 16. You're so unfair." I just sat there, watching my phone light up, a strange sense of peace washing over me. I wasn't scared. I wasn't even sad anymore. I was just resolute. I knew what I had done, and I stood by it. Then, the pounding came, not on my phone, but on my actual door. A heavy, insistent knocking. I peered through the peephole. It wasn't my parents, or Chloe. It was 2 police officers, standing there, stern-faced. My heart did a little flutter, but I took a deep breath. I opened the door. "Can I help you, officers?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "We've received a complaint," one of them said, "from your parents. They say you've illegally locked them out of an apartment they own, and that you're refusing them access to their property." I blinked. "Their property?" I asked, my voice rising slightly. "Officers, I am the sole leaseholder for this apartment. I pay the rent, I pay the utilities. I've lived here for 2 years. My name is on every single bill. My parents do not own this property, nor do they live here. They had a spare key, which I have now changed the locks for, as is my right as the tenant." I stepped aside, gesturing around my small but clearly lived-in apartment. "I can show you my lease, my bank statements, my utility bills. Everything is in my name." The officers exchanged a look. They asked for my ID, which I provided. They looked at the lease agreement I pulled out of my desk drawer, the one clearly stating my name as the tenant and only my name. They saw the bank statements showing all the rent payments originating from my account. "Ma'am," one officer said, looking a little uncomfortable, "it appears you are indeed the legal tenant here. Your parents seem to be under a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding of about 2 decades, I muttered under my breath, but loud enough for him to hear. He gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. "They told me that if my parents returned and caused a disturbance, to call them back, but that I was well within my rights to refuse them entry. They then went to inform my parents, who were apparently waiting in their car down the street, that their claim was baseless." The confrontation with the police, while unsettling, felt like a final validation. It was an external affirmation that I was in fact an independent adult with my own rights and my own space. After the officers left, I called my landlord, just to make sure everything was in order, explaining the situation without going into too much detail, simply stating I'd changed the locks and my parents had caused a misunderstanding. He confirmed I was within my rights. The fallout from my family was immediate and vicious. The text messages and calls didn't stop. They escalated from anger to threats, threatening to cut me off completely, as if they hadn't already, to disown me. My mom texted, "You'll regret this. When you need us, we won't be there." And, for the first time in my life, I felt a genuine sense of peace at that threat. I realized I had never truly had them there for me in the ways that mattered. My dad sent a long, rambling email about how I was tearing the family apart, how I was being selfish and cruel, and how Chloe was devastated that her sweet 16 was ruined because of my actions. I didn't respond to any of it. I just blocked their numbers and email addresses. I didn't go to Chloe's sweet 16, obviously. I imagine it was a grand affair, probably funded by the $2,100 they were trying to extract from me. I heard through the grapevine, from a distant relative who still spoke to me, that they told everyone I was going through a phase and had some mental health issues, which was why I was acting out. I just rolled my eyes. It was easier for them to demonize me than to ever acknowledge their own failings. Life after that was incredibly quiet, almost eerily so. The constant pressure, the subtle manipulation, the never-ending feeling of being second best, it was all gone. I finally had space to breathe. I focused on my job hunt, landed a fantastic entry-level position in my field, and started building a life truly on my own terms. I reconnected with some friends I had drifted from during college, friends who genuinely celebrated my successes and supported me. My apartment felt more like a home than ever before, a sanctuary where I could truly relax and be myself. Sometimes, I still get a pang of sadness, thinking about the family I could have had, the parents who could have been. But that sadness is quickly overshadowed by a sense of empowerment. I stood up for myself. I set a boundary. I prioritized my own well-being over their manufactured drama and endless demands. I learned that sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from people who continuously hurt you, even if they're family. It wasn't about the $2,100 or the graduation. It was about years of neglect and disrespect finally culminating in a moment where I decided I was worth fighting for. And I did. So, that's my story. It's been a wild ride, and honestly, I'm still processing it all. But I wouldn't change a thing. If you've ever felt invisible or unappreciated, I hope my story resonates with you. Remember, your worth isn't determined by how others treat you, but by how you treat yourself. Like this video if you were on my side, and subscribe for more stories like this. And please share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. I'll see you all in the next story.